In this video, we'll be covering the absolution void. This concept achieves both defense and offense simultaneously. It's usually done while the opponent is attacking to catch them in tempo, while at the same time avoiding their attack. However, it can be done with any attack you make. It's an excellent option when you want to avoid retreating and stay in range to catch your opponent in tempo. The absolution void is both a concept and a movement. It consists of shifting your body out of the way while simultaneously attacking. This is typically done as a counterattack while your opponent is attacking. The movement shifts the targeted body part out of the path of the opponent's attack while bringing your own attack closer to them. A lot of times this is achieved through hip rotation. A move that most fencers are familiar with that accomplishes this is the girata. Let's break down how to do it. We're going to start with a clip of McGregor and Alvarez. One of the things that makes this specific counter possible is that the fighters have opposing legs forward. McGregor is southpaw, meaning his right foot is forward, and Alvarez is orthodox with his left foot forward. Alvarez throws a straight right punch with his backhand, and McGregor responds by throwing an overhand left with his backhand. When you throw your backhand, you usually turn your hips, especially for an overhand or a hook. This hip rotation brings the left side of your body forward, towards your opponent, while moving your right side and middle away from them. If your opponent is attacking your mid or right side and you throw this type of attack, it effectively voids the areas they are targeting. This creates a powerful counter that hits the opponent in tempo as they move forward, bringing your target closer to you. The overhand in this situation also lands above their arm in a difficult spot for them to parry, with their other hand due to the distance they would need to cover. Additionally, the overhand's motion pushes their punch to the right, further moving it away from you. Every attack will have a specific counter that voids the targeted body part out the way while simultaneously bringing your own attack closer. This concept is advanced because it requires precise timing and an understanding of which movement will both void the target and bring your attack into range. In order to choose which movement you want to utilize that both voids the target and brings the attack closer, you need to know what attack your opponent is going to make. Using setups can make that a lot easier. Instead of reacting to any move your opponent might make, you control and dictate how they will attack. In the upcoming clip, I will show how I adapted the MMA technique demonstrated earlier, but to sword fighting. There'll be a few differences. Firstly, both the opponent and I will have our right legs forward. To translate the specific move to fencing and make it more obvious, I'll be using two swords, just as an MMA fighter would use both hands. Another difference is that my opponent will be throwing his lead hand instead of his backhand. In fencing, you usually don't have a sword in your backhand to attack. Because of this, I'll be coming over the top of their lead hand thrust. However, in this case, I will have two swords so that I can use my backhand to attack. The concept works the same, whether you attack with your lead hand or backhand. This specific encounter in MMA terms is, moreover, both fighters are southpaw and the opponent throws a straight lead hand jab, and you throw a rear overhand over top of it. This is a slight difference from the clip of McGregor and Alvarez, but it works the same and it shows how versatile this concept is. Let's break it down. My opponent throws a lead hand thrust, equivalent to a jab. I counter by thrusting over their sword with my backhand, similar to an overhand or check hook, while shifting my left hip forward and my right hip back. This action voids my center and right side, the areas my opponent is targeting, while also bringing my thrust closer. I typically adopt a squared posture to draw attacks towards my center or right side, presenting them as targets, and allowing rotational flexibility. If I were bladed, I wouldn't be able to rotate the hips the direction needed. Starting from a low position further encourages my opponent to attack my center. Alternatively, this technique can be executed by a left-hand fighter with their right foot forward against a right-handed opponent with their left foot forward. When they execute a lead hand thrust, simply rotate and attack with your lead hand over their sword. One variable that might make this concept more difficult for some is guessing which attack the opponent will make. Using setups can make that a lot easier. Instead of reacting to any move your opponent might make, you control and dictate how they will attack. So let's cover some setups. One of the best setups is the false attack. If you're unfamiliar with this concept, watch my video on it. False attack the opponent with a thrust, and after the opponent parries, bring your sword low while retreating, prompting them to attack the opening. When they attack, absolution void over their thrust, the same as before. Another easy method is to gain over their weapon while keeping your offhand to the side. This will cause your opponent to disengage and aim for your chest. Then you can absolution void and attack over. Let's cover some other movements that achieve the absolution void. There are several that people perform regularly. First, let's start with the most basic, a simple palm-up thrust from a squared posture into a bladed posture, for a right-handed fencer against a right-handed fencer. If your opponent attacks your center, rotate your hips by bringing your right hip forward and your left hip back while simultaneously thrusting your arm forward. This voids your center and left side while bringing your thrust closer. This is probably the easiest and most basic example. Another example is the incortada. When your opponent thrusts, move your entire left side back while bringing your left foot behind your right foot, thrusting at your opponent simultaneously while voiding your body out the way.